All right. I'm Jen Lask. Thanks for joining us. And we are now 10 minutes out from the top of the 10 o'clock newscast on Election Eve in Central Illinois. I've got our political bureau chief, Mark Maxwell, here joining us to talk a bit about what we can expect tomorrow. Now, Mark, you have been covering the ins and outs of this, the numbers, all of this for months now. Can you tell us a bit about the numbers of voters that you've been tracking? Give us a look ahead at what you are expecting to see when the polls close.
Jen, one of either two things are true. A lot of people wanted to get their early votes cast ahead of time in the mail or in person to avoid those long lines during a pandemic, or this is going to be a record voter turnout year because of excitement and enthusiasm. It could be a combination of both. That's what we're going to see tomorrow as these results start to come in when polls close at 7 o'clock. Now, if you're in line at 7, you can still vote. If you've put your mail-in ballot, you have to put that in the mail and have it postmarked by tomorrow. Clerks have to receive it for 2 weeks. But we know that 43% of registered voters in Illinois have already voted in person or in the mail. And there is a record number of people registered to vote this year. Illinois doing a lot to expand voter registration, also with same-day voter registration. But so far this year, 8.3 million registered voters in Illinois. That's a big number. It could be record turnout if all of that comes together. There is a look at the breakdown. You're seeing it on your screen now. 1.83 million people voted early in person. 1.76 million voted already in the mail. There's about 500,000 plus ballots in the mail ballots that are still outstanding. That's the number to watch for. It could complicate the watch night parties maybe you have planned as you get settled in tomorrow night to watch these results come in. As if the bigger that number is, the outstanding mail ballots that are still out there, the harder it becomes to really accurately predict close races. So that's a number to watch for, Jen.
And Mark, of course, everyone has been talking about the two names at the top of the ballot, President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. But there's also a big topic, the graduated income tax, that Illinois voters have been pretty divided on. And you, again, have been covering all of this. We've seen it on Capital Connection. We've talked to different experts on this. So what can people expect if they still haven't voted yet? What will they see on their ballots?
Well, on your ballot, this is the interesting question. It's on the left side. As you get your ballot, it's there's I think 3 or maybe 4 columns. On the left side on the bottom is that big question that could decide the future of Illinois' finances for years to come. But a lot of people overlook it. We've had viewers, people, friends of mine, people who just said, I thought there was supposed to be this question about the fair tax or the unfair tax on my ballot. I didn't see it. It's on the bottom left side. And that's important because as people skip that question, it changes the benchmark of how it could pass. There's 2 ways the graduated income tax could pass. The first way is if it gets 60% support across the board of all the ballots that are cast. If 60% of those voters come back and say, yes, we want this, that effectively changes the Constitution. The polls show us that outcome is probably not very likely. If the polls we've seen put the public support anywhere from high 40s to mid 50s support on that. So there's one other way it can pass. Because some people skip that question of yes or no and don't fill it out at all, the state allows for a second way. Basically, you take all of those blank ballots that didn't fill it out, you add those to the no votes who voted against the graduated income tax. And if all the yes votes outnumber those 2 votes combined, then it could pass that way as well. So I go back to the first point I made with about 500,000 of mail ballots still outstanding. That's why it could be very difficult, if not impossible, for us to know the exact outcome of the graduated income tax tomorrow night. So stay tuned, watch closely. Certainly, if we can confirm a result, we will, but we're not going to be jumping the gun there. There is no rush to confirm that question because voters do have that legal allotment of 2 weeks' time for their ballots to be mailed in and processed by the county clerk. That is state law in Illinois. So if you've got your ballot in the mail and it can be sent in, and they can process it, that's when those results become certified. Tomorrow night, you'll hear some unofficial results from local election authorities and counties across the state, but the State Board of Elections today telling us it's very possible we don't know the outcome of the graduated income tax tomorrow night.
And Mark, you've talked about election watch parties, and of course this is a watch party like no other. But before we wrap up, because I know you're going to be talking with everyone live on WCIA3 News at 10 tonight, and I want to give you time to get ready for that, tell us a bit about where you're going to be for the watch party, because we're going to be checking in with you tomorrow night throughout all of this to see what's going on. So share a little bit of what we can expect, where you'll be.
Yeah, it's not a normal watch party year, right? Big crowds are off limits because of the coronavirus and the pandemic. So people are spreading out. Betsy Dirksen Londrigan is the Democrat running for Congress in the 13th congressional district. Her campaign is not even holding a traditional watch party. They're going to be joining us completely virtually, remotely, and online. So her press availability, if there's a victory speech or a concession speech at the end of the night, that would come online. For Congressman Rodney Davis, he still is going to have something in person. It will be small. It will be at a larger venue where reporters can spread out, and there really won't be open to the public or open to supporters like you might normally expect. So smaller, more spread out. But we know that that's a race I'll be covering closely. Of course, Senator Dick Durbin also up for re-election to another 6-year term. He's facing two opponents this year, Republican Mark Curran and Willie Wilson, who's formed his own third-party candidacy. We'll be watching that race and several others across Illinois, but that's what you can expect from us and our partner stations around the state, bringing us close races. There's a big question about the Supreme Court in Illinois. Does Thomas Kilbride get another 10-year shot at the bench there, or do voters tell him no? A lot of big things to watch for tomorrow night outside of the presidential race, the big ticket item everyone's watching.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mark, for joining us. And we will have much more on this tonight at 10. And of course, stay with us tomorrow as the polls close. We will be checking in not only with Mark, but with our other reporters spread out throughout Central Illinois. We want to make sure that you have the latest updates as they come in a year that's going to be unlike any other election in the past. Thanks for watching, and we
This is an election night update from WCIA3 News, your local election headquarters.